we're talking under your roof. You know, it's one thing to know a lot about what somebody does. It's a whole nother thing to know about more of who somebody is.
Awesome,
I should
though.
be a rep for Poncho.
Really?
I've referred about 10 people to them now.
Okay. I
don't even know what
Where are
that
they
is.
made?
I don't know. Texas.
Okay.
I think so, because like the names of the shirts are Texas name. Like
Makes
you
sense.
look on their side.
And that
There's
Colt, Colt McCoy's.
I don't know.
Isn't that a
brand?
Mexican
It
buffet
might be.
restaurant that you raise the
Is he
flag?
repping it? I'm just going to tell you, man, you'll put one of these on,
Change your
Never
life.
go back.
you may not even wear underwear after that. You'll
Game
just, this is
guard
all you
may
need.
just be done.
Dude,
Put a shirt on,
they're
take your
good.
underwear off. That's all you need.
Poncho
Pants
just,
are always
I
optional.
thought Poncho was a Mexican buffet that you raise the flag to get soap
It used to
tortillas.
be.
Used to.
I love that
Straight
place.
gut bomb.
I actually
Dude.
never got to go.
You never been to Poncho's?
I
You never raised the flag?
We didn't get to go eat out growing
This
up.
is under your roof. This is the stuff I'm talking about.
Take a
So here we
pride.
are. We're back. We're under your roof, and this is what our conversations have been like. This is awesome. This is the first time we've not either had an individual or a married couple. So these dudes aren't married.
It's going to be interesting.
With each other. They do have significant others. They're married. We'll get into marriage. I'd love to talk about some of that.
Yeah.
But you
Our
know, the
much
whole
better
idea
halves.
is that.
Amen.
A lot more exciting than
Amen.
us.
So we got Josh Hardcastle. I'm gonna let them talk about themselves. And we have Brian Lacroix, and we're just 20 years in Abilene, a whole life. How old are you?
34.
34. And so, we got 54 years of Abilene pride right here. Cameron and I, we're not even on the table, man. Although I was born here, moved for college, moved away, came back. So I'm one of those, the same story you hear, So I got some, I got
you
more
got
on
neither
punch
one
card.
of those.
I got the punch card. I got some Holly Bearcat blood in me, dude.
Oh.
I got some of that, man.
The Shinry.
I got it, man. 20 years ago, you didn't want to tell people that, but now, man, it's like,
Yeah.
There's a little bit of pride there now.
it's
Should
hard
be.
for me
Little
since
bit.
I coached high school football. You played; it's a big part of your life. You're the announcer. We're in the presence of.
Voice of the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
bro.
Voice of Wiley Bulldogs.
So it's
voice.
impossible for us not to talk about that because I know it's in all of our DNA.
Sure.
It has to do with how you operate today. It's got to do. I've always told people
Yes.
I learned enough through 8th grade football in Llano through Coach Saucier to build and create a family and a life and a business. And really that's just what he taught us in that year. Anyways, and y'all have those same kind of upbringings.
Yes.
But however, the reason I say that about Holly is because they've had all this success, and it's like I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I got the blood in me, like I got Bearcat blood in me,
Bearcat pride, man.
and so maybe we need to bring my mom on here. 'Cause
No, we don't.
She can get going about it too, man.
That's a whole episode
So I'm
talking
taking
about
some
Bearcat
credit. Is what I'm
pride.
doing. I'm like, man, there's some,
Or
You just laid the foundation
Jamie,
for all of it.
Jamie.
Yeah.
There's an extension here,
That's right.
So yeah.
speaking of FCA,
There you
Speaking of
go.
FCA, okay, so let's just flip a coin. Heads.
You go first.
All right, Brian, tell us about Brian. Where'd you grow up?
So Brian Lacroix grew up in Southlake, Texas, and spent my whole life there. I got to enjoy a great childhood. Normal childhood for me was parents were married, and I've got 2 younger sisters. I got a younger brother, and
You're the oldest.
I am the oldest. Yeah,
Big brother Brian.
Yeah, that's me. And it was a all-American Brady Bunch household, and didn't know any different.
Yeah.
And got to live through the awesome 3A days of Southlake, and then I
was
was
just going to say, it was Southlake's not what it is
I was
today.
unfortunately the transition time.
Oh,
So when we were in 4A, that was my years. And I think it's the only losing season in the last 50 years I get to lay claim to.
you were the court. You were the court. So here we have
And
Brian.
I played quarterback. I got to play junior and senior year. You didn't touch the field as a freshman. That wasn't even heard
Wasn't a
of.
possibility.
Got moved up a little bit as a sophomore, but never played. And so yeah, a lot of fun.
what brought you to Abilene?
So Chick-fil-A.
Chicken.
Chicken.
The Lord's chicken.
There you go. So it was 2004. The gentleman that owned the mall, Chick-fil-A here, had retired, and it was vacant. And I got to move. I
You'd
started
been
with-
young.
Yeah, I started with Chick-fil-A when I was 22.
Wow.
So I was a franchisee right out the gate at 22, and my first store was actually in St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow.
If you guys can believe, I owned a Chick-fil-A, and I was unprofitable for the first 2 years of business.
Hey,
Never made a
isn't that
dollar.
kind of business?
yeah, didn't
You didn't
think
know
it
that
was
at the
going to be
time.
that going in. I'm like, I'm young and dumb, and I'm going to go make
And it's
all kinds of
Chick-fil-A.
money.
Yeah,
And it's
have to.
Chick-fil-A.
Guaranteed success.
But yeah, it was a very rough store.
How long have y'all
in
been
St.
married, you
Louis.
and Melanie?
We'll be 20 years in April. April
she's
2nd will be
been
20.
Miss Chick-fil-A
Yeah,
the whole time.
The whole time.
Wow.
The whole time.
22 years old, franchisee. Like how?
That was a God thing. That was like, she was going to nursing school in St. Louis at the time, and I was trying to get back up there after going to college up there. And so kind of figured this is, she's the one. She's pretty damn good. Here we go.
Here we go.
And
screw
nobody
it
was
up.
hiring. Nope. Yeah, exactly. Right.
You played some college ball too, didn't you?
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
I was fortunate. I got to go to Lindenwood University
Yep.
in St. Charles, Missouri. And so played there for 4 years.
Is that where y'all met? Did
That's
she go
where
to
we
college
met.
there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. You and Rachel and I have very similar.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
So as
was it.
a 22-year-old
yeah.
business owner
Yeah.
for a huge brand, like how did?
Yeah, but you got to remember, brand wasn't that big back then.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, it was
Yeah.
big.
It's grown with us.
but it wasn't what it is today.
Sure.
Yeah. Like,
So-
the reality is probably, is there anything you would incorporate from your 22-year-old self that you would use today, or is all that scrapped?
Oh, I think I probably use it all the
Would you?
time. Yeah,
It's
because
those core eighth grade things, isn't it?
because it's people.
Show up early. Yeah. Yep.
It's people.
Yep.
And so what I learned real quick is, okay, this is not a hard job, but you've got to lead people well.
Mhm.
And you've got to invest in them. You got to listen to them, and you hired them.
Good.
So let's kick it over here to Josh, because that's a perfect segue. People. So you
Pride
don't,
of Abilene hire.
you
here.
don't hire
Yeah.
people. Well, I guess you there's a hiring,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
in ministry, which I know you guys and what you believe, and you see a ministry opportunity in everything you do, and so it's kind of you bring people into the family, sort of, which is hard because sometimes you got to let go of employees and the struggles. We've talked about some of the stuff, but like in the FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, it's a massive amount of volunteers come into your world. So while you're leading a few, I mean, how many people are in your organization that work for you, like as an employee?
Yeah, so we have 14 full-time and part-time people total
Yeah.
right now. And then we've got hundreds of volunteers.
Hundreds,
that
every
serve.
community, come and go, and yes and no, and
Yep.
all the things. But it's still people.
Still people.
people.
Yeah. And one of the things I've been reading a lot about right now is people development versus people management, and that people want to be developed. They don't want to be managed,
Amen to that.
especially this next generation.
And I don't even think people. Well, I'm discovering I don't think people want to be managed, and I don't really think people enjoy to manage.
Mhm.
I mean, there's like some pushers and some.
Well, I think
I struggle in this area big time.
what I've noticed, especially at the tail end of my career being a manager in a leadership role with this new generation, is kind of to your point, that development piece. They ask why. And I think as seasoned leaders, you're not, the prior generations, it's, you shut up and color and you do it. We'll worry about the why later. But
Yeah.
now they have the why at their fingertips, immediately.
It's
So
Simon Sinek's
you
fault.
almost have to sell the vision, sell the mission and vision. Yeah.
He wrote too many good books.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking they're making
Start with why.
they're making our jobs all too hard.
Which, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing though. Like if they want to know what their purpose is right off the bat.
Yeah.
On day one. And I
Yeah.
think that's, if you can sell the mission and vision right there, with the 16, 17, 18-year-old kid or whatever,
Yeah.
initially, I think you'll just get more out of them in the long term.
Well, if we could get into you guys individually, like just more who you are, if we, like we've talked about, hey, we can lift up the roof of your house like it's a hood of a vehicle.
sure you got
and
your clothes on.
See down in the engine. Yeah. Like,
Unless you're wearing a
I mean,
poncho
what,
shirt,
what
right?
do you guys
Easy.
like to do? I mean, forget Chick-fil-A and forget FCA. Like, you go, Josh. What's a day in the life of Josh when you don't have to think work responsibilities and all that?
Yeah. Right now, my boys are doing 7-on-7 football.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get to coach my oldest, and that's been a
Are
lot
you
of
Coach
fun.
Josh or Coach Hardcastle? Or just coach?
To Knox, I'm Coach Josh or just dad, but I also do some character coaching on the side for Abilene High, and so
You've done that for a
Coach
long
Hardcastle
time, right?
over there. Yeah, this is my 6th season with Abilene High, and so I mean, right now my boys are 9 and 7, and they're just kind of growing into themselves. For a long time, their personalities were so similar. And so they love to do everything the same. And now they're starting to branch off more.
That's
and
cool.
we're seeing a lot more of different personalities in them, which is fun, but also like, oh man, I've only, had to parent one version of both of you, and now we've got two different boys, and it's fun, it's hard, but I love sitting with my boys in the moments of those difficult seasons. Like right now, it's small, but we lost 2 games the other night, and Knox just came home in tears because he was terrified to go to school the next day because he was afraid that people were going to make fun of him, that his friends were going to make fun of him for losing both of his games. And, it was an opportunity to sit with him and just speak life into him and affirm who he is, not what he does.
Right.
And really just let him know, hey, you're God's child first, and then you're my son second, me and Whitney's son. And then from there, who are you? You have to have that confidence in yourself. And it's really easy to say all of those things, but to like let those sit in your heart is a lot harder. And so that's kind of one of the things that we've been working with him on specifically right now. My 7-year-old, he's like, dude, I can do whatever I want. I don't care. I don't care what people think.
Cones.
He loves life, and he has joy written all over his face. But and that goes back to them kind of having different personalities. But it's a fun season right now because they each have their own quirks and their own gifts and their own abilities. And then just finding those moments to sit with them in the hard times.
What do you do to set that aside even? And we'll all talk marriage too, so hold off on that. But just you personally, like, do you ever get just you time?
Yeah. So Cam and I, we have a little bit in common with working out. And so I coach CrossFit, CrossFit Abilene, and Cam comes every once in a while at 6:15.
Every once in a while,
that's
the key.
We get to hang out.
Just enough to stay sore.
So that's kind of the way that I get energy out is just going working out, and sometimes it's enjoyable, and other times you kind of hate your life at the end. And the older you get, the more your body hurts, and the harder it is to recover.
You're 34, man.
But, hey,
what are you
listen, I've had way too many knee surgeries after football.
I get sore talking sometimes. I'll be talking and I get what's that?
You just need to relax a little bit more.
All right, so I got a question for you. So you got time and you got money. Neither of them are they're all plentiful.
Sure.
What are you doing?
What am I doing?
It's you get to do what you want to do.
Oh,
time and money is not an option.
Man, I don't know. Vacation somewhere. Go to the beach.
Where are we going?
Beaches or mountains? Yeah, where are we at?
I'd say Mexico.
Oh,
that's the place.
All right.
So
baby.
we went there a couple years ago on our anniversary trip, and it was just great to get away.
That's awesome.
Enjoy it.
What about you? Time and money?
I do the same thing.
You go to the beach?
I'd take a trip, travel.
Would you take your wife and your family, or would you just take your wife?
Oh no, just the wife.
Yeah.
I don't get to do that very often.
Yeah.
So,
busy life, man. 2 kids.
All right.
5.
Yeah, I got 4 biologicals, 1 adopted. It's like pull the roof off and you're like, oh, I'll put that back on.
That roof back on.
Oh man, that's a mess.
Yeah.
Looks like
but people,
that's
that's a good point. And I know you're fixing to go somewhere, but people get a perception of you. Well, they must got it all together. Look at this beautiful, both you guys have beautiful families. You have beautiful kids. You got a beautiful life. But let's just get real, dude.
Everybody's got a wagon in the ditch.
Yeah, dude. You open up that roof and you've got crap over here and junk over there, but it's all right.
Amen.
I mean, in fact, I would say, do y'all even make an effort? And if you don't, I think you should. But do you make an effort sometimes to let your people that are in your sphere, that work for you, that come alongside you, do you let them in to know that? Do you let them to see that? Maybe not literally physically in your home, but do your close people know some of your struggles?
So I have been given great feedback over the years that I produce physical energy.
I can see that.
I just felt it.
And and the people that work for me have finally gotten enough confidence to say, we know when things are off.
Ah, yeah.
And
that old forehead got red and those ears.
Yeah, my ears get a little purple, I guess. But I've been told I don't hide very well. And so people know if things are wrong. And it's one of those where if you ask me, I will tell you, but I don't offer it. And so I don't walk around like, oh, Cameron, can we talk? Like,
Yeah.
Now
there's
Cameron
probably
says, hey,
wisdom in
man,
that.
how you doing? I'm going, if you got time, I'll tell you. But if this isn't a good time, then we won't
Brian,
do it. But
I
I will be
that's
honest
great.
with you.
I've gotten to know you a little bit, you know, outside of the business realm where I kind of probably initially met you was just through the social circles, but got to know a little bit about your story. And I think, you know, one thing that we have in common that y'all don't yet is we have kids out of the house.
Yes.
True. Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Both just happen to be at the same college right now.
Go Aggies.
Oh, yeah, I hate to say it, but
There we go.
I mean, so now that you've got 5 kids, but now that you've got, you know, one out of the house, like how has that changed, you know, your dynamic or, you know, you as a father and maybe y'all's dynamic as a family and adjusting to that new way of life like we are. I mean,
Yeah, oddly,
it's different.
I wouldn't say it's changed much. So I still have a high schooler. I have a junior in high school. I have a 7th grade son, a 5th grade son, and then a 3-year-old little girl. I don't know that really much has changed because we're still going to games on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Yeah.
We're still doing the little league stuff together. And then I find myself, though, back in a gymnastics class for the first time. And, I am looking around going, ooh, I'm a little older than y'all. Okay.
Yeah. I'm
And just
part two.
realizing that I'm going to be, I think Melanie and I will be like in our early 60s when our youngest will graduate high school. So that'll be the weirder deal there. But as far as like changing dynamics, it hasn't changed much for us other than, oh yeah, we haven't talked to Alexis in a day or two.
Yeah.
Hey girl.
Did she call you or do you have to call her?
Both.
Works both ways.
Both. And the texting thing is, gosh, it's so easy.
I'm doing homework.
You know,
Dad,
I think
can't talk
about
right
like
now.
when we were in school, we were calling mom and dad like,
We wrote letters.
or yeah,
I mean, we
you got
literally mailed a
mail.
letter.
Yeah, or like Sunday was my day to talk to the family, and so I'd spend 1 hour talking to the family with my phone card.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
had to dial it and
Call
call.
collect if you don't have that. Yeah.
You know,
It's
but I
crazy.
mean, my daughter spent 45 minutes on the phone with Melanie yesterday, and they talk every day.
Yeah. FaceTime. I mean, there's
It's crazy.
the whole thing is different.
So it's
you know,
it's just interesting when my mom's like, well, you staying connected. I'm like, yeah, like too much. Oddly, is that weird? I don't know, but
yeah.
It is weird not giving like direction. I mean, you go from, you know, you will do this to, you know, hit me up if you have any questions. You're more of a mentor.
Did you get in friend zone just now?
A
Did
little
you move
bit.
from dad
I mean,
zone to friend zone?
Listen,
Hit me up.
I cried.
Hit me up.
I cried for
Shoot
4
snap.
hours when I
Send me a
tried.
snap.
over
You're
there, yeah.
Snapchatting.
I
Yeah.
FaceTime her any chance I get, and she will deny that call 9 times out of 10 because
That's
she's
awesome.
busy
Yeah.
doing homework. But
Yeah.
and you know how it is. They want to be wanted.
I know, and of
That's
course,
but that's so cool that you're doing that.
but they also want their time. They want to be on their own now, and I'm like, no, I don't want you to be.
But that's the beauty of the phone. They can go ignore.
yeah.
Boys.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go back this second. You were talking about just letting people in.
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
your-
Yeah.
on
What's
your
that look like
team.
for you?
If you would ask me that 2 years ago, I would have said, no, I'm great at opposite of that. I put on masks. Nobody, I need to be the leader. Can't show weakness. Can't let anybody in. But, man, just something clicked, a couple years ago where I just decided I was going to go deep. And the shallowness was just not really working for me. And I knew that I needed to make some changes within, because I wasn't happy with where I was at with my community. I would have said I had friends a mile wide, but 6 inches deep.
Wow.
And, so I've really taken some time to invest in the people that I'm close with to go deeper and to be
What do
more
you think
intentional.
that time? I mean, I know you've been in some transition in a big way, in life ways, and you can get into that however you feel comfortable. Was there a specific moment though where you would say that set in, or did that kind of gradually get into you?
I think it gradually came. I was a youth pastor for about 10 years, and I transitioned out of the church ministry world. And as I was making that transition, I knew I needed to reflect on who do I want to be? Who have I been? Who am I at the moment? Who do I want to be? And then just let God kind of speak into that. And I had a lot of good Holy Spirit moments of hey, here's something that I think we can work on. Here's something I think we can grow. And a lot of it came with regret and shame that I had spent so much of my life caring about what other people thought.
Yeah.
And trying to impress everyone.
Guilty.
Yeah.
To where I was starving for deep relationships.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
exhausting
that
after a while,
was
too,
really
isn't
You've
exhausting.
done it.
You're
We've
right.
all done it. So
And,
Cameron,
I'm in the middle of that
when
right
we
now, man.
when we first talked about this, Matt Cartwright, who y'all can't see, y'all are watching, he's behind the camera. Say hi to Matt. Matt just turned the camera on and we had a conversation. That was our first podcast. And we literally got into fear of man and how that is exhausting and going from proving yourself to expressing yourself, two totally different ideas. But like the light bulb, how much things change in your life, in your marriage, the way you parent, the way you go about your job, everything, when you don't care what people think, and not in an aggressive way. Like you said, even like, I don't mean that arrogantly, but like, dude, at some point, what does that matter?
Like, but he asked the great question: who do I want to be?
Who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you actually answer that,
what's this going to take?
Boom.
Yeah. Okay. So in the who do you want to be? Because we've all gone through this, and you go back and forth, shallow to deep, shallow, however you want to look at it. What is a time where you've had to really make a hard pruning of something in your life? You've had to say no to something, let go of something, someone, something, some place. What does that look like? Because there's no way you've gotten where you're at and not had to go through hard stuff. What's that look like?
I mean, not just to you guys, but to anybody who hears or watches, it's not fun to let people go.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks this is awesome to fire people. I'm going to fire them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
have fun with that. It's gut wrenching.
Yeah.
Because you're affecting families, you're affecting individuals, your own organization. Now, there's times where it is very joyful because that person has been such a bonehead.
Yeah.
That you're like, this has to happen.
Or that person
But
needed to change, not just for your organization.
When people are trying and they're just not the right fit, that's hard.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to do. And so haven't had a ton of those situations, but the few that I've had were really, really hard. Yeah. That's where,
well, like for me,
and I'm taking it to employment.
Sure.
Then you get into family and there's all kinds of fun dynamics. How do you cut some of those?
Yeah.
That's hard.
But it's real.
Ooh. So my folks got divorced after 27 years of marriage.
Wow.
So all the crap that a lot of kids go through early, I was 26 going, wait, you're doing what?
Yeah, and you described
We're all
life
out of the
growing up
house.
as like the all-American family.
Yeah, my
so
dad
at
brought
middle
home
20s,
flowers on Friday nights from my mom.
Yeah,
and now
and
all
then
of a
you
sudden
watched the
he's
divorce.
like, hey, dude, I'm living in California. Hope you join me.
Wow. Is he
And-
remarried?
Twice.
Wow. Mom?
Has remarried once. Yep.
Man.
So, yeah, wild. So that's,
We're
you start
under the
talking
roof,
about,
man.
you
We
start
just
talking
got,
about,
we went into the roof. Yeah.
yeah,
Here we go.
there's always something with a family.
Yeah.
But I don't know how Josh would answer, but that's how I would.
Well, we'll jump over to Josh. Okay. But you're the big brother. You're the leader.
yeah.
You're 22 years old. You own a business. You've been married for a handful of years. You're building a family. Your dad calls. Here's this bombshell. Your siblings all look to you. I can almost guarantee it.
Yes.
So what kind of pressure was that? Think you navigated it well? Would they say that?
I bet they would probably say we did navigate it well.
Did you get a chance to just, what the?
Oh, I had conversations that I never thought I'd have with both parents. And if I would have said some of the stuff, back in the day, my dad would have beat me senseless. And, but it's a different day. I mean, when stuff gets real and you're old enough to handle it,
Yeah.
I love how he's talking about with his sons right now going through different seasons. And we as parents were always like, okay, do you answer the real question real or do you give them kind of the fake answer? And I've always told Melanie, I think if they're smart enough to ask the question,
real, man.
they're smart enough to handle the real answer. And so,
yeah.
we're talking with our parents and doing things. And then I'm talking with my siblings and we did the best we could. But I think I made a very intentional effort to say, hey, this is who we're going to be, and we're sticking together regardless.
Well, that's been a common theme in these conversations. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
Pruning.
I don't know. I would say this story's, I guess, part pruning, but we were in Fort Worth for about 4 years. I was a youth pastor in the Keller area. And, my wife, she was feeling a desire, maybe a call to come back to Abilene. And for about a year, I told her no. I was like, I feel really good about where we're at. I love my staff. I love the people I work with. I love our church. And it was about 10 months into that year that I finally realized how lonely my wife was.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have community. At the church that I was working at, I
Is
enjoyed.
Is Whitney from Abilene?
Yep. Yeah, we're
Okay.
both from here. We met in the 6th grade band hall of Franklin Middle School.
What instrument did she play?
Scandalous couple.
I played.
What
played
instrument
the
did she
saxophone.
play?
She
What did
played
she-
the flute.
Okay.
So, that was just a quick little squirrel.
Woodwinds.
All right, I played tenor.
right.
I played trombone for
Yeah.
6
Play the
weeks. Got
quads.
kicked
That's got a
out.
band
Hey,
going
listen,
here.
the band.
We could. What'd you
get the
play?
band together.
Nothing.
Oh, come
All
on,
right,
man.
you'll be our road manager.
I was not in a band. The recorder, I guess, in elementary school.
You probably
Count.
did the baton or something.
I didn't do
probably
band one
twirled.
time.
You
No
twirled.
band.
I was not a band.
Anyways, okay, that was a rabbit.
Yeah.
Good rabbit.
Yeah. So anyways, we were kind of in a really hard season because she was lonely. I wasn't. I was happy. She was putting on a face.
Was she working?
She was working. But she just didn't have the same community at her job that I did. And I just finally felt, like God told me, are you going to love your wife more or this job more, that if you lose, the church is still going to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to come to that realization that if I left, that church was still going to keep trucking along.
Captain Awesome here.
Yeah. And
may not be
yeah.
what Captain Awesome thinks he
Yep.
is. I've been there, dude.
And so it was a pruning of my own self.
Yeah.
I had put so much stock in, it's ministry. And so you feel like
If you leave it,
yeah, if you leave it, but also, you're doing the Lord's work. So how can you put anything above the Lord's work? But, our first ministry is to our family before anything else. And, that was a growing season for me, that I had to put my own pride and probably sin aside, in order to see my wife and where she was at in her life. And, it was the best move possible for our family. Knox was 18 months when we moved back here. And then, shortly later we had Brooks. So, it's great. Both of our families are from here. And so the season of life we're in now is great. I feel like we're just in a really good spot. We've been married for 13 years. And so, I feel like we're just now hitting our stride.
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun to get to that point.
Yeah. We were talking to a couple yesterday, and Rachel and I have been married for 20 years, but we didn't get saved until we were 8 years into that marriage. And so really I say we've been married for 12 years. I don't literally mean that, but we didn't know. I had no idea who I was. She didn't know who she was. So when I got out of teaching and coaching, that was a really big deal for the people in my circle. Like, what are you doing, man? I'm an assistant head coach, assistant athletic director. And my next step is to go be a head coach. And I, felt like a lifetime. 11 years into something's a long time, and so it's like I'm right there at that spot. And I had not one single coaching friend of mine that understood what I was doing. They had no idea. They were all like, and I love them, but some of them I had to prune that. My wife and my kids needed me. They needed dad.
Yep.
And I had been so far removed from that place that it wasn't about that being a bad profession. There's some of the greatest people on planet Earth are coaches. But for me personally, I had to do that. And I can look back and say that was one of the most difficult things. The greatest decision ever made for us was that. And you don't see that in the moment, though. It's like it freaking hurts, man, when you cut something you've invested time in, you've built, you think, man, I was made for this. Like you can say, I was made for this. And anyway, you look back and we talked too, and I think you can get into this a little bit. It's harder. I lived in Frisco for 8 months. It was harder there to find community. I didn't try real hard, but then in a town like Abilene, for whatever reason.
Way different.
Yeah. Big city, you grew up, you saw that expand. Whereas here, I mean, you got into this a little bit, there's the dynamics of a DFW versus a little smaller, well, not a little.
Abilene's a big, small town.
Yeah, you know a little bit. If talking to that, like you take us into that.
Well, I mean, you kind of mentioned a little bit, Josh, and something that I've battled for since I've been here, and even prior to moving from DFW down to Abilene. I had to come to Abilene. I was didn't have a choice.
Get your marching orders.
But I wanted to come here. It just worked out to where the military fell. Anyways, but as someone that prides himself on creating a community and keeping that community where it was very, very easy, and I'll be honest with you, it still is today very easy to get lost in that. You want to create community, but you want to create the right kind of community. And I think for so long, when you're successful in building a network in a community and you start to be known for something, whatever it may be, that you can get lost in that. Yeah, not to mention I'm ginormous, but you put your wife and kids to the side, and you put your faith to the side, where you think that your priority is to them out there and not to what you have under your roof.
Well, like we talked about, you start getting, there's all kinds of addictions, right?
Oh man.
Hey, and you start talking about getting addicted to just being involved,
being needed. I'm
6'9" Cameron, and they need me.
Yep. But so does your wife and kid.
Amen.
First, to your point. And I think that's like, one thing that you both have in common that I admire is y'all are both very magnetic people. I think people just gravitate to your, you have a very, dominant presence in a positive way. You've been a leader for your entire life almost, but Josh, you just have that compassionate presence where you just throw that on others. And it's, from someone that still struggles with prioritizing, and not to say that y'all don't either, but it's,
oh no, we do.
It's still
different levels, right?
Yeah, for sure. But y'all just have that, y'all are just magnetic to that person like me, who needs to have people around them constantly that can refocus you to true north and where, where you need to go.
The hardest part in that is, I know that God has gifted me with extrovertedness. But the difficult part in that is when your family sees that out in the community, but they don't always see it at home.
Yep.
And they want to feel how you make other people feel out in public, in home.
My wife has said that lots of times.
Preach right there. Yeah. And then there's this introverted extrovert. I'm pretty extroverted, but when I go somewhere and there's a whole lot of people, I also like to find myself over in the corner by myself, and I don't want to.
You get peopled out.
It's weird. Yeah. I don't. Do you relate to that?
Very much so. And honestly, I would say I'm a chameleon depending on the crowd.
Yeah.
If it's a crowd that I'm kind of like, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah. But to Cameron's point, you both are magnetic. And here's what happens in this is you are making an impression no matter what room you're in, no matter where you go,
right?
Because of who you guys are. And you're always modeling. And that can become a pressure because you can put on this, you said mask earlier, I'm going to this thing, I've got to be this person. And, these lies can swarm you. And no, you don't. You just go be you in every one of these places. But I have experienced mentorship from people I've never actually sat and dealt with.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so you're always mentoring people. I mean, just think about the roles you're in. You got 180 employees and a whole community you serve that know you in all different places, not to mention school involvement, kids things, all the things. the FCA, you said 14 employees, and maybe you said something about 4 other on staff, but there's a board, and then there's this whole big country.
Yeah, coaches, athletes,
I mean, like,
directors.
there goes Josh.
Yeah.
What's he thinking? Where's he going? Who's he talking to next? Why didn't he say hi to me? Where did he? I mean, there's all this stuff, man, and it's like this whole True North, dude. Talk about everything, and so. And then there's a reality. You can get too far into what I'm talking about and develop this mindset that everybody's thinking about you. Back to, if I leave here, this won't. And
people are going to forget about
everybody calm down. Like,
it's actually kind of become
man.
a joke in our FCA staff. We talk about, replicating yourself. So when someone goes to a school, they're supposed to raise up a volunteer coach to lead the FCA, so that when Jamie Calvary can't be there, that FCA can still happen. So we say it's the hit by bus method of leadership. That if you got hit by a bus, would FCA still exist on that campus?
Yeah, that's good.
Or in any way. And so if I got hit by a bus, would FCA still be able to continue in the way that it is? And so it's my job to replicate myself to make sure that things can continue.
Yeah, and you want people in your organization for the right reasons. So, like, let's say you didn't get hit by a bus, but let's say you changed what you believe and you just quit and left and said, this isn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
Would everyone quit and leave because of that? Or would they have developed such a belief in who they are and what they do that wouldn't shake them?
I think the hard part too is convincing yourself to let go of that. Because, I know for me, when I, like Dias, for example, I'm the go-to guy at Dias, but I thought for the longest time, as soon as I retire and I'm not associated with the base anymore, like, people aren't going to want me or need me anymore. And that is such a lie that is told to it is.
Well, your title and your influence aren't the same things.
Yeah.
You develop your influence and your influence doesn't leave.
Oh,
So you could sell Chick-fil-A tomorrow. You're still going to be good, brother.
sure.
Now, I'm not saying go do that.
No.
Sounds like y'all got a good thing going.
No, I think we're doing okay. I think this thing's worked out
like,
pretty
they're
well.
not. I mean, but one does help the other as you're going, but
100%.
but they're not the same thing.
Yes.
Hard to catch that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it goes back to, this whole thing of pulling back the roof, who are you versus what do you do? I think people want you because of who you are. Like, they want to be around you because you're just a great dude and you're a positive and encouraging influence on the community, not just your community, but the community. And same thing, like if you sold Chick-fil-A, I still think people would want you in their life just because of the way that you develop people and treat people. And I mean, you'd have leaders, banging at your door saying, "Hey, come work for me."
Yeah. You would.
I think that's one of the great things about just this whole idea is, man, who are we versus what we do? And I think it's a real easy for Satan to get in our ear and say, no, they only want you because of what you do. And that may be true for some people.
That's a lure for the world. And that's great. You know that. But like, once you get lured in and you get into someone else's space because they wanted what you had, then they learn, oh, wow. I mean, this is how I got saved, man. Y'all met Cody at camp. We were there. Just a man's man of all dudes. Like,
freaking stud.
You can't not So I go to this thing. I think it's a business event. It's not. It's a church. I'm looking for the door. I got this thing telling me, get the hell out of here, man. This guy. And so I meet this dude, and real quick, I started realizing I don't know what this that he has, but I don't have it. And it was, and you'd had to know his family too. I mean, you just, the whole thing. And I thought it was success and money and all this and that. Nothing to do with that. In fact, he wasn't even involved at all, hardly in any of that world. This was just a dude that had something in him that was different. And man,
first thing that dude said to me at boot camp was, "Don't look down, look at my face." Look me dead in the eyes. I'm like, okay, sorry, sir.
Yeah.
And I was getting I was getting prayed over. That was just him praying over me.
Yeah.
But yes, to that.
He said that to me before too. You pick your head up right now.
Yep. Look me in the eyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You think you only need that when you're 14 years old in the middle of, football practice, but dude, that's crazy. Like we got to spur men on forever. mean, this doesn't end. You're 26 years old. Your parents are going through a divorce. Somebody's saying, pick your eyes up, dude. Look at me. I don't know who that was, but who's been mentors in y'all's lives or fatherly type roles outside of your family?
I had a great grandpa. My dad's dad was awesome. And so we had great relationships, great conversations. I had coaches. Coaches were a huge piece.
You still connect to any of them today?
No, because I don't do social media. So I'm not a Facebooker. I'm not on Instagram or any of that kind of stuff. My college head coach, his son and I were roommates, so I still get to keep up with them a little bit.
I don't know
honestly,
that
just
world.
good family
I don't know
friends.
a world without social media. Do you creep in it? Like, do you look at your wife's?
So I have to have a Facebook. When Facebook first came out and we wanted one for the business, it had to be tied to a personal name.
Yeah.
And so I have it. I just don't get on. I get on maybe every 6 months.
I'm still waiting for you to accept my friend request, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So side note, if anybody has sent me a request, I don't even know how to do it.
What a jerk, man. God,
what did I do?
He stands in the corner.
really did.
He's staring at me. He won't accept my friend request.
So you're talking about like
I'm not going to Chick-fil-A
if
anymore.
you get hit by the bus. Well, my marketing person got down for a minute and
you had to step in.
We didn't know how to get into the Facebook page. And I was like hacking into my own page and trying to figure it out. And it'd been 4 or 5 years since I'd accessed Facebook. So yeah.
Wow.
So then I got in and there's some cool parts to it, but I just have chosen
for somebody like me that's lived in 5 different towns.
Oh man.
There's I've made relationships in these places. And so it's kind of
and there's a lot of guys that,
like a photo
that
album.
have been 40 years in Chick-fil-A that I look up to, that I try and kind of say, hey, how did you do this? And how did you do that?
Yeah.
And so I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of different guys that I could probably sit down, if you gave me the time, I could write of who's influenced me.
Yeah. That's a great exercise everybody should do.
Oh, for real, right?
Yeah. How about yours?
I'd say outside of dad and mom, I worked at a video rental store called Box Office Video back in the day. It's kind of like a local Blockbuster. And
did you charge $3 if they didn't rewind the tape?
No, we didn't. I mean, we were far enough along that we just had mostly DVDs, and so
that's a real thing.
We didn't have to do too much with the VHS.
I saw it in a movie the other day. So
You wouldn't know till you went to get your next rental.
Yeah,
and you have a charge,
a late fee.
Yeah.
Anyways, keep going.
The owner,
those days.
Man, he was such a I'd say compassionate person and kind, but when you came in the store, I mean, he lit up for everyone.
That's cool.
And you felt like he was your best friend. And it didn't matter what you looked like, didn't matter what you smelled like. I mean, it was
everybody's renting movies, man. Everybody comes in there.
Every person went to see the owner, and man, that just had such an impact. And I worked there for about 7 or 8 years, and so just 7 or 8 years of being around that kind of personality, that kind of emotion and compassion for everyone. If somebody walked in that looked like they were walking in off the street, he'd give them a bottle of water and just say, God bless you and hope you have a good day. I mean, he was wiping out late fees left and right.
Is he still alive today?
He is, yeah. He's driving semi trucks now, I think.
You ever talked to him?
I heard. I haven't. He's on Facebook, but I hadn't talked to him in a while.
These are these guys when you start going thinking about this stuff, you drive out the rest of the day and it's like, I need to check on old so and so. I can guarantee these guys would love to hear from y'all. Absolutely.
Big time.
Love it. Yeah.
Yep. And then I've got another one that he was my youth minister just for a year, but he and I really connected my senior year in high school. I had a lot of really bad injuries that happened my senior year.
Kind of wiped your whole senior year out, didn't it?
Took my senior year out. Didn't get to go play college football. But he was kind of a person that was walking alongside of me throughout that season. And he and I do still keep up together. And we still go grab lunch and we're still really close. And so he's been a big influence.
I need to connect you to my daughter. Just in the FCA world.
Yeah.
She just, we just got in this accident. She's torn ACLs. She's broke both ankles.
Senior year.
She's had these things. And now sports isn't, as it's all turned out, it hasn't been a big dominant thing of her life. But like what's wild is she's super involved in like still the sport world, the fan, all the stuff. She's energized by it, loves it, loves every bit of it. But it's been a setback that I didn't realize you know, that she's navigating some tough stuff. Probably I
hard.
just need some dad coaching.
Yeah.
So speaking of,
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Speaking of dads, you two are great fathers.
Fooled him.
We think.
Amen. I'm like,
What would your wife say
You
about
don't know.
what kind of dad you are?
at least from the outside perspective, y'all seem to be great dads. I mean, you
Yes.
and you and your wife decided to adopt, fairly recently, right? I mean, it's been a couple years.
Takes time to do
so
that.
oddly enough, so there's a funny story. So Melanie's got 5 brothers. I'm the oldest of 4. Her parents are both one of 12.
Wow.
Gee whiz.
So fertility was not going to be an issue, right?
Right.
Well, in our conversations and dating, it was like, hey, you're probably going to struggle to have children. So when that day happens, the doctor's telling her, let me know, and there's things you can do. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, there's no way we're going to struggle, but okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no doctor. I just slinging nuggets over here. And so we had kind of always talked about adoption,
Yeah.
but we'd always talked about adoption dating. Like, okay, well, if you can't have kids, then what are you going to do? And so it just was kind of always on our heart. And so we were in church one day. She was at a volleyball tournament with Avery, and we were just like, you know what? I'm tired of this. Either we're going to do this or we're done talking about it. So I signed us up for a meeting, and the rest is history. And so,
So what's you got 2 boys, 5 kids.
yep.
Again, great fathers. What's your blueprint in terms of like what kind of father do you want to be when you wake up every day? And like, what do you want your kids to be able to see?
Waking up every day and you say, okay, I'm going to seek first the kingdom, mean it,
Yep.
and model it and do it. But how you treat others, they're watching.
Good.
They're watching all the time. I've wanted to be different. So I'm not here are the rules, take it or leave it, get out of the house. I've told my kids, until you give me a reason not to trust you,
This is me, man.
I do. I've waited. We've been very patient with technology. We don't jump off because, there's a new iPhone.
Sure.
Oh God, it's okay. We've been very consistent in how we do things. And so with that consistency is also inconsistency. I tell each of my kids, all y'all are going to get treated differently when it comes to cell phones. All y'all are going to get treated differently when it comes to dating, because every situation's different, and the real world treats you differently.
Right.
So there shouldn't be a blueprint of exactly how you do this, but they need to see that you're consistent in how you approach everything, even if it's different for each kid.
Good.
So that's kind of how we've done it. And there've been moments where, they broke curfew. I don't yell. I walk in and I whisper, don't ever, ever do it again. And they will probably tell you. They won't, because they're freaked out about what might happen. And so
pulled I'm not mad, I'm just really disappointed.
I haven't done that yet.
But you can hear it.
Haven't
Like,
done
I
that
heard
yet.
it. I felt disappointed just now
Right.
when you were
So a
like,
lot of
don't
my
ever do
employees,
that.
so I tried this. I don't remember who I got it from, but they were like, don't yell, go whisper.
Mm.
Wow.
And man, you talk about freaking people out when you're pissed and you can keep your calm and whisper about how unhappy you are. You just felt it,
That's
know?
good.
Yeah.
I'm
And
gonna
to
have to try
feel
that
like
out.
Josh come up and be right here and whisper, and you're already kind of a physical presence, and it's like, oh,
That's
man.
good. I'm going to try that out.
So that's what I would say how we've approached.
I love that you just basically sit to,
children.
what's your blueprint? Well, there
Yep.
isn't a blueprint.
Mhm.
There's a relationship, and you got to be aware of their differences and the things, and in tune to what's going on. And yeah, that's a big,
All right, screw the blueprint.
So one
Josh.
of the other, I do
Yeah,
want to say
trash
this.
it.
One of the other things that I've really tried to do is my boys serve the women in the house.
it's great.
That's good.
And so I've really tried to make that an effort of, okay, hey boys, clear your mom's plate off, clear your sister's plate off. When we've had team dinners, I try to make the boys, when the boys are there, it's like, hey, we're going to go serve these young ladies, and really trying to teach young men how to treat young ladies.
Good.
And to be very intentional about, they are so
Okay.
special.
Well,
And
how old
they
are your
true
boys?
Gifts. 13 and 10.
All right, we can start talking about some arrangement stuff. I've got a 12-year-old daughter. She's a good kid.
Right.
I mean, we're raising her pretty well. So
Isn't it weird
let's
like how
go
those
over here.
arranged marriages?
Hey, dude,
like,
I mean, there's something to
marriages,
it. I'm telling you, there's something to it.
They turn out good? Well, you got to grow together.
Dude, I'm telling you,
gotta
there's
fight through all
stuff
that.
out there.
I want to hear Josh's blueprint though, because I might steal something from my 3-year-old.
There's not a whole lot of blueprint right now. Having 2 boys, we had always thought about like trying for a third, but we were really happy with where we're at. No, we're done.
Same here, man. That's a story.
But Whitney really likes being the only girl in the house. She's the queen.
Yep.
And she gets treated like the queen.
Good.
And so we kind of follow that blueprint at least of, hey, you open your mom's door.
Yep.
Whenever we're getting in the car, any game we're playing, we always let our lady go first.
Yep.
And the relational aspect is really important to me. Anytime the boys get sent to their room, anytime they mess up, they get in trouble, they go off to their room, but then there's always a conversation. There's always a follow-up. There's always hey, I want to make sure that you know that you made a mistake, but that you're not a mistake. You made a bad choice, but you're not a bad person. That's really important to me. I would say the biggest thing for me is having that ability to have a conversation. And Knox has even expressed to me before that even when he gets in trouble, he knows that his dad is still coming to love him and to show him that that I still love him.
Good.
And for him to be able to communicate that was really important to me. And you know, it's kind of affirming of, hey, this is a good route that we're taking, is making sure that the relationship is always there. Yeah. That even when he messes up, the relationship is going to be there. When he's happy and joyful and we're celebrating, the relationship is still going to be there. And I want him to be able to go off to maybe not Texas A&M, but I want him to be able to go off to college someday and know, hey, I can go home to dad, and their relationship is going to be there.
Yeah. Well, there's that thing that floats around that says, I screwed up, dad's going to kill me. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, it says, I screwed up, I got to go tell my dad. Yep. And that's the culture you want to create. Yep. That's the kingdom. If you're saying seek first the kingdom, that's it. That's what you would have.
Do you guys pay any attention to the Kansas City Chiefs?
Dude, of course.
Okay, cool. So Andy Reid, once a week in practice, an hour is for the players to show
their play,
to show him what they've created. That's ingenious. Yep. Yeah, is how he gives them the freedom.
Weird stuff.
Not just the players, the janitor got to play.
Anybody can do it, but you got to be organized.
Yep.
It's not just, hey, show up. Hopefully this is going to, you need to have your stuff ready to go.
I love it, man.
But they're putting it into play. And I think as we're leading the next generation, you've got to be listening and give them room to fail and be creative.
That's good.
So that's, I don't know.
That's good.
We're on to
Who's
sports
your favorite
here.
coach?
Like of all time?
Yeah. Or even right now,
oh man.
Oh,
what a question.
That is good.
Good luck.
I'm digging on Kirby Smart, man.
Saban.
I do love Saban on game day.
I'll tell you. Going into my senior year, I was 6'3", 320 pounds. So I had some colleges looking at me, and I went to college camps across the state. And the best coach at all of the camps was Mac Brown at UT. He had just had surgery on his knee 3 days before, and he was the one that actually sat down with everyone at camp and took time to tell us what it was going to be like to be a UT football player. Yeah. All the other coaches showed up at the end and they said, thanks for coming out, yada, yada. But
really cool.
Mac Brown was the only one that took time out of the day. And we only had 7 hours at the camp. And he took an hour out of the entire camp to explain, here's what it's going to be like if you come here and you're a UT football player. And that was very impressive.
I've always said he could be like the president of the United States. We'd be okay.
He'd get a vote for sure.
He is a name memorizer. There's some books he has out there of tactics he uses to memorize names.
Yep.
Things that really matter. You see someone, you meet them, you talk to them. A year later, you run into them and you say, hey, Brian, how's Melanie? and you're like, dude, it doesn't even matter what he's selling. I'm in.
It freaks you out.
But he's notorious for that.
Yeah.
He's crazy, man.
Go to date night place.
Oh, good one. In the lean, big country.
Probably Miguel's.
We love Miguel.
It's so good.
Those pork rinds, man.
Yep.
Pork rinds.
The
Just put the lime on them.
the brisket tips.
Mm-hmm.
Get those. That's where to go.
I'm a Perini guy. There you go.
Yeah.
I am. I love the ambiance. I love just feel like I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and
We
I'm
went
always
to
going to run
Perini's.
into somebody I know, and it's cool. But then it's also, hey, y'all go enjoy dinner, and so you're not obligated to talk a ton, and you do your thing.
We went to Perini's the other night, and I have a friend that I've introduced Perini's to that comes in town and loves it. And anyways, I just took a quick picture and put the phone up. I actually put the phone up. But later I sent that to him, and I sent it in a group of other guys, and there's some guys that don't know it. And they, what do you do? Are you eating a steak in a carnival? Like, where are you? Because I'm outside in the draped tent, and it did look, if you just looked at the picture, which I paid no attention to, it really did. It looked like I'd found some tent out in the middle of nowhere.
Dang good steak in the carnival.
Yeah. And it was,
Fried steak.
yeah. It was funny looking.
on a stick, right?
Yeah.
I got one more question, and then I'll let Zach wrap it up.
Date night
Yeah.
place?
My date night place, ours is probably, all right, y'all are going to laugh, but it's either going to be Vagabond or
Oh,
Joe
that's a good one.
Allen's.
No, those are
Joe
great
Allen's.
ones.
Joe Allen's.
Vagabond would be number 2 for me.
Joe Allen's probably has the best New York strip in town right now.
No kidding.
I won't get anything
I've
else
never been to
from
Joe
there.
Allen's at night. Ever. I've only been there at lunch.
Oh, that's good food.
It's good.
Okay. Well, I mean, you could date during the day, guys. If you're watching, you can date your wife during the day. It
Not when your
doesn't
wife's a
have to
teacher.
just be at night. Like you could, huh? Well, yeah,
Makes it harder.
that's true.
If
You got holidays, man.
you can play
I
hooky.
take her Chick-fil-A every now and then.
Oh, here we go.
Cheap plug. Let's go.
I asked this question, I think the first one that we did.
Okay.
I want to ask y'all, because y'all are leaders, not only in your families, but you're leaders in your organizations. What is your default piece of advice when you're talking to your team? Like, what's the first, if there's an issue or whatever, you're just trying to exude wisdom onto whoever on your team of people, kids, whatever it may be. What's kind of the default thing that y'all have carried with y'all throughout your lives that y'all have learned that you use quite a bit, if you have one?
Approach everything with a servant's heart, and then be willing to do things that nobody else is. Nobody wants to go clean bathrooms. Nobody wants to clean up after my family of 7 comes and destroys your dining room. You know, and we actually even try and clean up after ourselves first. But be willing to do things that others are not, and then smile.
Good.
It's so crazy how we as a society will not smile at each other.
Yeah.
Attitude's contagious.
But
You
it's
do
just-
smile. I noticed that sometimes, and
But
it
it's one of
does.
those-
It's like
but it
I gotta
changes your
smile
whole
back.
interaction.
It does.
You can't not smile back.
Yeah.
But for in our business, where when things are going bad, it's easy to take stuff out on a fast food worker, is when you share a smile, it changes the whole interaction.
Yep.
And sets the tone. And then for us, as we lead teenagers, I mean, you don't get smiles from teenagers very often. And so when they do, you're automatically going, hey, I like this kid.
Yeah.
And you don't even know him yet.
Yeah.
But he smiled at me. So that's where I would probably,
And don't forget to
I
say
would
my
probably
pleasure.
lean. Better not.
don't forget to say my pleasure.
Josh?
Oh man, I would say leading with grace is really important to me. I think sometimes we can get really cynical, and just not assume the best, not assume positive intent. But I would say that if I was giving someone advice, man, just lead with grace in everything that you do. That goes to if you're having a bad day, or if a customer comes and just screams at you and hollers at you. It's like you can take that personally, or you can say, man, there must be something going on in their world.
Usually.
Same thing on the field. You know, if a coach is going off on a ref at 7-on-7 on Friday night, number one, we've got an issue of character at that point, but also like, hey, what's going on in your life? You know,
what do we need to pray for?
We just need to know about, you know, how can
I've
we
heard
lead with
somebody
grace?
say, I've kind of tried to live by this. I don't do it very well all the time, but you know, like your response is your responsibility. There's a difference between reacting and responding. When you're graceful, you'll respond.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not soaking things through grace or gratitude, you'll be reactionary, and in reactionary, you don't think about smiling. You don't think about the other person having a life too. You don't, I've gotten so fixated on myself in seasons of life where I can become numb to realize that you have a life, that the only thing that matters is everything going on in mine. Like what a just real stupid place to get. Mm-hmm. But I think we've all gotten there,
Yep.
Yeah, man's not good or evil. He's selfish.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all of that reaction and responding that comes from your heart. That's what's already there. It's not a random act. It's what is there, what you've allowed into your heart.
It's almost like you should guard your heart because everything you do flows from it.
I've heard of that.
I think there's something out there.
Is that in a book?
There's a few books out there. But it's like everything flows from. You should guard it. Yep. Actually, who turned me on to? Not just who, but I heard a guy give this huge long talk and summed it up, and it was Henry Cloud.
Oh, great. You talk about necessary endings in a great book for pruning.
Yes.
Holy moly.
It was like he had you on your edge of your seat. He's like, he kept saying, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to tell you. I'm the one thing. It's the one thing I've learned. It's the most important. But he had this hour and a half long thing, and he finally got to the one thing. He was like, tell me the one freaking thing. And that's what it was.
Yeah. Guard your heart.
Above everything I have said this whole entire time, above everything you've ever done, been to, whatever, guard your heart. Everything that you do will flow from it. You're just like, I think that's in the Bible.
Man.
Thank you, guys. We're kind of plain landing.
Yep.
That's it. Chick-fil-A, go eat chicken.
Sweet.
Go get involved with the FCA. Go to the mill. Have you taken y'all's wives to the mill yet on a Thursday night steak night?
Not Thursday night.
Actually, never on a Thursday night. It's
pretty good,
many and multiple other nights.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
It's a good little getaway. Actually, we were here last Thursday night, and Matt Ellis that shared a story at camp with the music. Matt and Michelle. He was playing here with his daughter Lucy, so it was really surreal.
That's
it was
cool.
Real cool. Come to the mill. Go to Chick-fil-A. Get involved with the FCA. You could call Fat Matt if you had a roof issue, but
there it is.
Intelligence
it's
aligned.
windy today.
It is windy today. Today's
windy. That's a thing in West Texas. Intelligence aligned. These guys are the ones behind the scenes doing this. They consult with businesses. And I've seen it firsthand. They did a really good job of taking you where you're at, really figuring out where you're at and who is on the team playing, what lanes really are they best to operate in, and then how to scale and improve and grow and integrate crazy technology. These guys are awesome. All this is happening because of them. So thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
We'll have to do round 2. We didn't get into marriage as much as I wanted to, but that's okay. I really could just talk sports with you all day long. That's fine. We didn't have to get into the real stuff.
That could be a lot of fun. Yeah, part 3.